Okay, this is the April 7th meeting of GMAC. Welcome, everybody. We have in attendance almost the full council. Chairman Robert Youngling is trying to get in on Zoom. Other than that, we have a full vote. Don Hess, Kevin Evans, Henry Mayer, and Melissa Finley, along with our administrative secretary, Mary Mobert. Sheriff Matt Kendall's here with Lieutenant J.D. Comer, I believe. And we have John Redding and Ken Brown. Anybody else that I missed? Oh, Travis Gilmer. Welcome back, Travis. Good to have you here, my friend. We're going to get into our first meeting, our call to order, resolution authorizing teleconference meetings. This is posted on gualalamac.org, but we are required to vote on this. We had a full reading at one meeting, and now we can just go on and vote on it again. Is everybody on the council ready to vote? Don, will you vote to approve?
You need a motion and a second, so
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Kevin Evans makes the motion.
I'll second it.
Don Hess second. Kevin, you made the motion. You can go vote first.
Okay, I vote yes.
Don Hess.
Aye.
Melissa Finley.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
And Tom votes yes. We have a unanimous 5-0 with one absentee. And introductions and announcements. I think I already did that. Anybody else have any other announcements? No, we're good to go. The consent agenda, approval of minutes for March 3, 2022. Do we hear any changes needed in the minutes?
there have to be a couple of changes to the correspondence, and then also the two CDPs that were received.
Mary, are you talking about the minutes or the agenda?
No, the agenda. I apologize. You're taking a vote for the minutes.
Are there any changes in the minutes? No. Okay, we will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Henry Mayer makes the motion. A second. I will make the second. And the votes. Henry.
Aye.
Kevin.
I was not there, so is that an abstention?
It's what you want it to be. I think you can make an abstention. Did you listen to the tape?
I did. So based on the tape,
then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, based on the tape, I'll vote yes to the minutes.
Melissa, you were there.
Yes.
Okay. And who didn't I call on? Don?
Aye.
And Tom is an aye. So we have 5-0 on approving the minutes for March 3rd. Correspondence, we have a notice that Sonoma County was going to have a meeting on March 28th and April 7th, and an update saying they canceled the one for April 7th. And today being the 7th, it seems moot anyway. Mendocino Community Action Network, domain registration 1730. And any other correspondence come in that we need to know about, Mary?
The CDP for Holberg Olson and for Donnelly.
We're going to talk about those tonight.
They should be assigned at, I think it's section 7. Let me look down here. I think it's section 7.
I think it's 8.
Section, oh, I have permit application 7, but that's okay. 8, that will do.
I'm down on 8 on my agenda.
Okay, that's fine. Great.
When you sent out. Okay, and now we have an agenda for tonight. Everybody got that? Mary sent them out, posted the post office. Any changes in the agenda for tonight? Aside from the one Mary just mentioned about the 2 possible assignments.
Right. Adding the 2 to the correspondence, and then also 2 to the assignments.
Okay.
So there are
So
2 changes. 2 changes.
Any other changes in the agenda tonight?
Can I add a discussion item? Because it's not on the agenda, it's just a discussion on my part. for.
Yeah, actually, item 4 is non-agenda items. You can bring it up at that point, Kevin.
Okay, I'll do that.
We should note that we can't take action on items
Correct.
in that point. Okay. If no further changes, do we hear a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda, the correspondence, and the agenda?
Also move.
Kevin Evans gets the nod, and who will second?
I'll second that.
Don Hess is the second. And Kevin, will you vote, please?
Yes, aye.
Don Hess, vote.
Aye.
Henry, please. Henry, do you want to vote?
He's on mute. Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I was muted. Aye.
There you go. And Melissa.
Aye.
And I will vote aye. Another 5-0 vote. Okay. Public input in non-agenda items. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak? Okay. And Kevin, I think you said you had an item. Do you want to speak as a member of the public or as a member of the council?
I guess I could speak as a member of the public. There is a concern based on an article that was printed in the ICO, and then now the recent closure of Bauer Park based on the deferred maintenance by the county of Mendocino. And I think that we as GMAC probably should look into why it was closed and why is the money being deferred, or is there money being deferred from the maintenance of that park to a level that the county has to shut it down because they based on the comment of one resident is that the county deems the park unsafe. So I think GMAC really needs to take a look at that, and I would like that to be on a future item, agenda item, or even for a special meeting.
I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin. We can't take action on that tonight. However,
Right.
I think we could make assignments. It wouldn't be a permit review assignment. And, remind me about this later in the meeting if Robert gets in here.
Okay.
I would suggest that we appoint a person or two to look into this. I know, Kevin, this has been a big interest area of yours. Is there
Mhm.
anybody else who would like to look into the park situation with Kevin?
I'll volunteer for that.
Henry, that's a good one for you to get started, I think.
Mhm.
Okay. I am not going to formally appoint you, but I will make that recommendation if and when Robert comes in, or if we get down to committee assignments late in the meeting, I will appoint.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make a brief observation about that?
Yes, Don.
I was there today at the park, and it seemed open. There were people there, baseball, kids playing baseball. So was it supposed to be closed? I don't know.
That's what we're going to look into.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Yeah, I'm aware of the situation and very concerned about some of these issues. We shouldn't be really discussing this in any detail.
Right, exactly.
We can assign people to look into this and get into it in the May meeting. Mary, would you make a note that we may want to have an item on a park report? We can put under council matters in the next meeting.
I have done just that.
Thank you, my
Already.
dear.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other members of the public want to talk? Okay. In that case, we are up to number 5. Time for the good sheriff of Mendocino County and his loyal lieutenant to tell us what's going on in our world. And Travis Kilmer and Brent, whose name I can't remember right now. What's your last name, Brent?
It's Blazer.
Blazer. How can I forget that? That's a good name. Sounds like a TV name, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Brent
I was
Blazer.
telling that, Brent, you're muted. It sounds like
You guys nailed it. You guys got it.
sounds like something out of a 1950s movie, doesn't it? Brent
It does.
Blazer in the world of
Brent
tomorrow.
Blazer.
So,
Well, Brent,
I'll
now
have,
that we've given you a brief, let's have the sheriff give his report.
I'll have
He's
JD
calling
get
it on-
down into the weeds on some of the calls and things that we've had. JD, if you could throw out the stats, and then as soon as he finishes, I'll go over a little more of the higher level stuff that I think that we should be looking at over the next couple of months.
Okay, and just for note, Robert seems to be joining us by phone. I'm going to see if this works for him. It probably will.
That's his office phone, yes.
Okay, we'll just wait till he unmutes himself. If he knows how. Melissa, you have experience on the phone. How do you unmute yourself on the phone?
Well, I've got
Can you
it.
hear me?
Yeah, there you are, Rob. Good.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I could
No
not
problem.
get in on my computer.
No problem. Robert, would you like to take over chair of the meeting, or would you like me to continue since you have no vision?
Go ahead, Tom, if you don't mind. I'll chime in where needed.
Fair enough. We can co-chair this one. We are up to number 5 on the agenda, the law enforcement report, and the good sheriff was about to tell us about the evil deeds of our fellow citizens.
All right,
JD, why don't you go ahead?
here we go. All right, since our last report, the sheriff's office has had 35 calls for service. That's roughly in the last 32 days. A portion of those, and the ones being the most highest level. Got a bad
We've
feedback.
got excuse me, we've got a little feedback going here. If you're not speaking, would you please put your system on mute?
I think that's going to be Robert. All right,
Put
so
me-
you're on mute, Tom.
Okay, Robert, we're having a little feedback issue on your phone. Are you listening on the computer?
I'm listening on the actual phone.
Okay, well, okay. And I don't think it's Robert. It's probably somebody else. Anyway, everybody else is on mute. Now let's try it again.
All
Go
right.
ahead, JD.
Test 1, 2, 3. We sound good. So out of those calls for service, I'll give you a few of the high ones. We had 5 separate reports surrounding suspicious circumstances. We have 4 requests for the welfare checks on other people. 4 calls reporting persons having a mental health crisis. 1 assault, 1 circumstance reported of brandishing of a weapon, and 1 call surrounding child abuse, and 1 reporting a case of fraud. And in total of those, we took 4 investigative reports. So kind of on the average.
Mhm.
That sounds pretty good to me, because it sounds like the call volume's down to where we want it to be, kind of in the winter time. We're actually heading into spring now, and I think that our call volume is going to jump when people start coming into town a little more. So, as you guys mentioned about the newspaper article, the board did approve the hiring bonuses for to kind of bring us up to par with the police departments. And we've got a few people in the hopper getting hired right now. We're looking for more laterals because they're kind of plug and play, as opposed to if we take on a brand new deputy and we send him to the police academy, it's about 11 or 12 months before we get a full day's work out of him without a training officer. The laterals, we just got to get them up to snuff about how the sheriff's office does things as opposed to the departments they worked in previously. And that usually takes us about 60 days. And so it's a really good thing for us to pick up laterals. We're advertising all over the place to try to get more people to apply. But right now, law enforcement is in this great big wrestling match across the state of California with the COVID closures of the police academies. And now police academies that used to have 40 students in them are sitting on 12 or 15 because nobody wants to be police officers anymore, deputy sheriffs. Currently we're in the midst of budget negotiations. We had our budget meeting with the county today. The counties, we're doing okay. We're not doing great. But I think that we're going to come out fine, and we'll be able to continue to provide the service that the people in the county deserve. The marijuana industry is kind of falling flat on its face in Mendocino County. I've told you before, but I received reports from the north. You know, I know a lot of people after growing up there. There are hoop houses completely full of rotten marijuana that people could not afford to harvest last year. Now, the concern there is who's going to clean up all the garbage. I mean, it's starting to just kind of goo down into the Eel River drainage and various other places. And so that's going to be a big concern for us in Mendocino County with the plastic and the things that are actually getting into the rivers. It's not okay. We've got some good things going on right now, some really good things, especially over at our jail. We've got a bunch of new classes going on over there. I'm teaching a beekeeping class with a bunch of the guys that they're really enjoying it. We're also going to do some poultry. We're going to raise some chickens. We're working with the Unconditional Freedom Project has partnered with us to do a lot of these things. And it's really becoming something that these guys enjoy doing. You know, they really look forward to it. And everybody wants to do something productive every day. And you just feel good when you do. And so it's actually helping to create kind of a safer and more harmonious jail setting for us. Excuse me. The COVID stuff is, you know, I think that we finally got it kind of beaten back with a broom, and we're going to start opening things up, and Mendocino County is going to start looking like Mendocino County again. And I'm really looking forward to that. Just a couple of other things. We are still in this drought. And so Brent's been working on a lot of different projects to get us a little more resilient. He's also been working really hard on a lot of the tsunami warnings and things like that. And I don't want to steal his thunder, and I don't speak about it as well as what he does. And so I'll ask Brent to weigh in on that real quick, and then we'll answer any questions that you folks may have.
I have a question for
Thank
you,
you, Sheriff.
Sheriff.
Go ahead, Don.
Sheriff Kendall. What is your current staffing level, and what is optimal staffing level that you'd like to see for the sheriff department?
Well, our current staffing level is 47 deputy sheriffs for patrol, and I believe 51 for the jail. As of today, we have 10 open slots and then 6 people on injury. I've got my notes actually right here. So we're down 16 on patrol. We are down 15 corrections deputies. And we have 3 that are out currently due to injuries and things like that. And, you know, workplace injuries, some of them are long-term, some of them are not. Sometimes someone will fall, get in a tussle or something like that, and they twist their ankle and they're out for a couple of days. We've got a few people who, we had one who had a heart valve replacement. I don't believe that he will be back to work. He's my age. He's 52, 53 years old. And if we can just get back up to full staffing, we will look a lot better. Honestly, 60 would be the number that I would hope for. You have to remember that in the entire 53 years that I have lived in Mendocino County, because I was born here and I'm still here, our staffing levels have not gone up for patrol. We still have the same number of deputies that we had in the 1960s. 60 would be a goal, but we just can't afford 60. If we can get up to our full complement of deputies, 47, that's when I'd start to be concerned about moving forward on trying to grow to meet some of these needs. But, you know, we're doing a lot of work while we're really short. We had 8 homicides last year. Our detective unit solved 100% of them. We have, especially on the coast and on the South Coast, almost all of our crimes are property crimes. And I mean, I got to pat JD on the back, but he will tell me it's not me solving all these, it's the public working with us. And when we have those good relationships with the public, you know, you guys are our eyes and ears. You guys are the witnesses. You guys are the ones who are paying attention. And this incredible rate of closure on property crimes on the coast and on the South Coast. I mean, we would stand this department up against departments all across the United States. They don't have clearance rates like we do. We're absolutely amazing. right up to the point that we get to these areas where people say, oh, I don't talk to the cops. I'm not a cop caller. Okay, well, I'm sorry. There's a connection that we have to make with the public and keep with the public to be able to adequately serve. And the public has a duty to pick up the phone and call us and to pay attention to what's going on around them. And like I said, I give JD pats on the back for it all the time, and he says it's not me, it's the public. So.
Thank you, Sheriff, for that information. It
You
does
bet.
sound like we're short, but you're doing everything you can at this point to try to bring up those numbers.
Well, we are sitting at pretty much the exact average of a lot of different counties. Humboldt County is down 10%. Mendocino County is down 15%. Sutter is down 20. Glenn is down 26. You know, vacancy rates that are running from 7 to 50% in Northern California. It's just, we've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, Don, and just to take it up, another level specific to the coast, and this is a historical situation, is a response. You look at the 800 square miles that we have just on the coast that we have to cover, and that is usually covered with 2 deputies. That's our minimum staffing. Unfortunately, that's usually our maximum staffing on any given day. And so resources can be spread thin very quickly, just because of distance and time. So, specific to the coast, another part I want to bring into that is we have a guy that is very interested in being a resident deputy on the South Coast, which is very beneficial for the community. It's very beneficial for us. But he's stuck in another situation where he is trying to shop for, he's in the house market down there, but everything is just outrageously high that's on the market right now. As a deputy doesn't have $1 million to purchase a house. So I would ask, I put it out there, if anybody knows of any place that might be for sale that's under that high mark, please pass it on to us so we can pass it on to that deputy as well.
Will do.
Yeah, I think housing's our number one issue around here. There were a lot of people on the call with the Senator McGuire last night, trying to talk about the housing crisis in the coastal areas. And we certainly have an added burden with the water moratorium in Gualala that prevents us from building houses. And houses that get built tend to be luxury palaces that are used by weekenders. So we're all concerned about that.
All right.
Melissa?
Where I live is probably one of the lowest priced place you can live. And my neighbors are, one of them is the phlebotomist at our CMS. I had a neighbor who worked at the pharmacy before it closed. If your deputy is willing to live in an RV, he can live inexpensively here in Gualala.
Yeah,
Provided there are,
that's definitely an option on the table, but he wants to gain some permanency down there and actually buy a house and a piece of property. So
Right, but
and he's gonna go ahead.
But he could live here and be close, and it's easier to look for a piece of land if you're right here.
Right. If you would, Melissa, send me if you have the ability, send me your info and I could pass that on to him to get a hold of you.
Okay.
Is your deputy single or married with children?
I'll say no children. I don't, as far as his relationship goes, I don't think he's married yet, but who knows?
Could I inquire from the sheriff with, I did not catch the group or organization with whom you are working with the classes in the jail. I didn't catch that.
The Unconditional Freedom Project.
Unconditional freedom. Thank you so very much. I wanted that in the minutes. Thank you.
All right, are we ready to move on to Brent at this point? Brent, would you take the floor, please?
Yeah, I apologize.
No problem.
Can you hear me okay?
We hear you well.
Fantastic. So good afternoon, everybody. As the sheriff said, we did some tsunami testing a couple weeks ago, and really the takeaway there was there's many different aspects when you do any sort of like tests with alerting. The biggest thing I want all of our constituents to know is that everyone should have received a text or some type of phone call or whatever, depending on the preferences you signed up for. So anyone who says they did not get a notification was either outside the area or is not properly registered. So last week we put up some PSA public safety announcements and some videos. And I would just encourage everyone to make sure they go and check their registrations. And most importantly, you really do need to register for the Everbridge and for Nixle. They are separate platforms. And historically, people think if it's just one or an abbreviated registration, that's good enough. And really what we did this back in March is kind of like one step at a time, getting ready for fire season, right? So please pass those videos along. They're on Facebook, on our YouTube channel. If you need them, just reach out. I'll send you a link. But we should be good to go in that aspect. Apologies, alarm's going off. With that said, this is a volunteer month, volunteer appreciation month. We're always looking, another aspect of being ready is being involved. We're always looking for, people who want to get involved with search and rescue, the ham radio group, MAX, and of course, CERT. CERT will be kind of, since COVID's getting behind us, hopefully, we're doing in-person trainings again. So in Ukiah, on April 30th, they'll be doing a training for CERT. It's really hard to move around out to your area, but we just want people to know it's available. And then, of course, later in May, we're going to have another one out in Casper. Again, we're going to be starting to launch PSAs each, public safety announcements, every week, every other week, just something, getting some kind of refreshers out there, little ideas. This month is also Financial Preparedness Month. We're going to do something with the sheriff tomorrow and get that out online. So please be on the lookout. But the big takeaway there is usually with fires and such, the at-risk population is generally some of our older population. And that's generally because they paid off their house. They didn't feel like insurance was important. They lived their whole life and never really had a significant event happen. And then maybe the house burns down and they're not properly insured. It's really heartbreaking. On my perspective, because you become ineligible for so many programs. Same thing with renter's insurance, or if you're somebody who owns multiple properties, FEMA is only going to help you with your primary residency, not with a rental property. They'll help the renters. And so I just want to make sure people are kind of taking the best steps they can, reassessing. Insurance has changed a lot over the years because of all the disasters we've had in California. So that's a big one, to kind of start looking at that each year, get your documentation in line. So those are two reminders this month. Outside of that, we're working on, we're basically doing 4 exercises with different response partners throughout the county in different capacities. So we did some stuff last week with tsunami planning with coastal partners, fire, law, EMS, parks, which was also kind of leads into fire preparedness, right? Coordination, depending on the disaster, is very similar. And so just want you guys to know that we're doing a lot of things in the background that their annual kind of like stretch out, get the cobwebs off of you type of thing before fire season kicks off. I'm going to stop there. If anybody has any questions, concerns, or needs, always available at oes@mendocinocounty.org. And the registrations and a lot of the information I'm referring to is on the mendoready.org website.
Great, Brent, that was really, really great. And yes, I got 2 notices of the tsunami warning. So it works. Anybody else have any questions for Brent? Hearing none. I see we have Travis with us tonight. Travis, do you have anything for us tonight?
I've got some sort of general things, not super specific to Gualala or the South Coast area, but I can share them real quick. So for disaster recovery, one of the things that we're going to be pushing out here in the next couple of weeks is we are going to be sending out a recovery survey. for wildfire specifically. And so we're going to send it directly to people who were affected by wildfires since about the 2017 fire. This has kind of been a project that I didn't start this project, but I'm going to get it going again. We will be taking responses from just general county residents as well. There's a few extra questions for people who were impacted by a fire, but we want to get a bunch of data from around the county and how people's recovery in like longer term sense is going. So hopefully that'll be live by the time we have our next meeting. And then once we get that data, we're going to be working on the county's recovery plan. It needs to be updated. It hasn't been updated in several years now. And we're also kind of working on a debris management plan for the county that was also left in sort of a half-finished state that I'm going to try and finish here. That's really it for disaster recovery. But if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I have a quick one, Travis. When you talk about recovery and the fire survey, are you talking specifically about wildfires that affect more than one dwelling, or would this include single dwelling fires as well?
It's primarily like wildfires. I mean, there'll be some opportunities to kind of like write out your own answers if you have things that aren't directly related to any of the major wildfires that have impacted the county in the last like 5 years. So like we would definitely take any input that you have, even if it is for smaller events.
Good to know. I think our newspaper folks, they always listen to our meetings, so they may be interested in sharing that info with the public too, as well as the other info we've gotten tonight's law enforcement report. Are there any other questions for any of the law enforcement folks here tonight?
I have a question for Travis. Travis, I think at the last meeting, if you recall, maybe it was a meeting before, but there was a discussion of the California Energy Commission's grant program for EV charging. And I think you said you were going to kind of look into that because the county apparently was going to apply for this grant money to set up a fleet level EV charging system. Is that true? Did the county actually go through with this application and apply? The deadline for that application was March 11th.
Yes, so the county did apply for that. And I did go back and talk to them after our last meeting. And like I mentioned the need for EV chargers in Gualala in the South Coast area. I was told that it was too late to make changes. So what the application asked for was, I believe it was 16 chargers at the main county administration center, and then another 4 at the Yokayo Center in more like downtown Ukiah. So that application did go in, but there's not anything in it that would provide EV chargers for Gualala, but I was told that we will continue looking for more opportunities.
I understand that, and I did not actually expect them to include Gualala from the information that I had. I was just curious whether the county did apply, and perhaps it's a little bit too early to know whether they succeeded. I'd like to see them succeed, of course, but
yeah, we don't know if it's going to be successful yet, but once we do know, I can definitely share that at the next meeting when I actually have the information. I'll let you know what the status is.
Okay, thanks, Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Any other questions for law enforcement?
It's not a question, but I just wanted to say that the beekeeping and other classes programs sound really great. Glad to hear that that's happening.
Well,
Thank you for doing it.
Henry, they're really, a lot of these folks, they need to make some good time of, we want time well spent, not just time spent while you're in here. And, you know, I think it's providing some opportunities as well. And, you know, maybe some of these folks are just missing out on a few opportunities, and that's why they haven't jumped on them so far.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as always, the law enforcement report was really thorough and complete, and we thank you very much and encourage you all to Thank you for serving the public so well, and stay safe out there, whatever you're working on.
I just got a message that I have a flood going on in a basement of a rental. And so I've got to run off and get that dealt with so that my wife does not skin me alive.
Yeah, we
She
don't want
has
to
to
get
deal with it.
skinned alive.
You might not be looking
But
at
if
me
you,
again.
if you turned up skinned alive, we'll know where to look, Sheriff.
I'm sure it'll be in the next law enforcement report.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. There are laws against
Led
that.
by Sheriff Comer.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Go safely out there, you guys, and thank you for all of your service to the community. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Marion. It was great to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And
Good to see you too.
Thank you,
night,
Sheriff,
Evan.
and
Thank
thank you, JD.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to number 6, permit applications. And we have 2 items listed here. This is a little unusual because these weren't assigned last month. Mary, would you like to just take a second to explain why Jaggy and Brown are on the agenda in this way tonight?
The county requested, the county planners actually for the 2 projects requested that GMAC address them. It was like a week and a half ago when I got these requests in. They have never been received by us in the mail or because they didn't have our correct mailing address, although it's been the same thing since, I don't know, 1990 something. But at any rate, they did request it via email and sent out information regarding that, as well as Holbert Olson, which will be addressed in May at our next meeting. But I don't know if someone has walked these. I got out the request ASAP the same day that I received it. And both, I do believe, had the permit attached to it. I could be wrong, but I also gave the address for viewing the county website on CDPs and boundary lines and all of their other permits.
Okay.
So I don't.
I know
I
that
don't know.
I know Robert's on the phone tonight, and he is familiar with both of these. I actually did walk the Brown location yesterday down the long road at the end of Coral Court, and I can tell you I have absolutely no objection to having panels on top of a garage out at that point. It seems like a good place for them. They seem like they'd be pointed in the right direction. Assuming they meet all the other requirements, I would have no problem with that. And I'd like Robert to speak to this one, and he may want to speak to Jaggy, but let's just deal with them one at a time. Robert, did you have something to say about the Brown application on Coral Court?
I didn't know. I think that's a pretty straightforward application. It's not like a development per se. It's already a developed property. In fact, I can remember decades ago when that was a different owner who owned that property, and there was for those that remember the history around Gualala, Mary, maybe there was a big drug bust out on that location at one time, way back. It's a developed, if I'm not mistaken, an old manufactured home that's been revamped and probably went through some building permit things to get it fixed up. It's very exposed, I would say, to the elements out there. Yet, like you said, Tom, it's got a very good solar location, and I don't think the glare or the installation of solar panels on that property would affect any of the neighbors in that area. I don't believe. So I'm all okay with this application.
Yeah, I don't see that neighbors would even see the solar panels. Is
Yeah,
Ken Brown is here tonight. Ken, would you like to speak to this? Take yourself off mute and
Yeah.
join our conversation.
There's nobody that's going to see these solar panels. You know, I think if anybody had a question, it would be the park, but you know, they can't see it either. There's a huge tree. There's a huge cypress tree in the way. I could try to show you little pictures to prove that, but you know,
That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to. I didn't take any.
If you don't want me to have solar panels, I won't put them on. but you know.
How many panels are you going to be able to fit on the garage roof? Is one of
Oh,
my
about eight. Well, they tell me 8. It's not that many.
Okay, and 8 about 400 watts each.
Yeah, so it's about 3,000. It's about 3 kilowatts.
And are you going to have batteries?
That's my plan. We will see. I mean, you know, originally they wanted to put on LG panels, right? Well, LG got out of the market now.
Yeah.
They had really good panels, but they're leaving the market. I don't know why.
Okay. I think you're going to be well set for self-sustaining energy out there. You know,
Yeah.
4,000 watts is plenty to, or 3,200 or whatever you're going to get out of that is plenty
Yeah,
to
about
run a
32.
household on. Yeah. And that roof that you're looking at is facing what, west southwest, something like that.
Yeah. It's probably a little, maybe 10 degree, you know, flat on, it's 10 degrees to the east of south, you know, so it's.
Okay, that's okay. You'll probably get your vendor. Who's doing the system for you?
I'm blanking,
Remember
but
one of the firms in town.
The local guy, MD?
MD Electric.
Oh, MD Electric? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And did they give you an indication of the efficiency they expect from those panels? I'm just curious.
Not particularly.
Okay, you
They're
might
very
ask them about that. One of the reasons I held off on my house was that they turned out it would only be about 30 or 40% effective.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. I don't know. I mean, it's possible I won't even do it, but you know, I mean, the state had their new plan, which I got no idea what they decided in the end. You know, which would make if you put solar panels on, it'll cost you you'll have to pay them to hook to the grid. So, you know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well,
But
good
I
luck
do
to
need
you.
The number
go
one
ahead.
thing, I need a new roof. Like you say, it's exposed to the elements there. I need a new roof.
Well, also those panels are heavy, so I don't know if your garage was constructed with the idea that it's going to have, you know, several
It'll
hundred or
hold
a
those
couple thousand pounds up there.
Yeah, it'll hold them, I think. If it won't, I'm not going to redo the garage, rebuild the whole garage, that's for sure. So
good luck to you. Well, I have no problems with that. In fact, I would be okay with making a motion on this. Robert, do you think that would be appropriate?
I'd make a motion, yeah. Let's make a motion and approve this. Well, let's vote on this CDP 2021-0049.
Yeah.
I have a question first.
Go ahead.
Shouldn't take long. The electrical panel replacement or upgrade, is that a requirement for the solar
No.
panels?
no,
You're just
No.
doing it.
it's yeah. I mean, so all I actually have to do is replace the roof, okay? But Mendocino requires me to do a coastal permit, right? And then in addition, even though there was a geologic report 10 years ago, they want another geologic report. So what the geologist told me, if there's anything I can think of that might need replacing, go ahead and do it. So the electrical panel was put in probably, 4 years ago, a long time ago. Anyways, I don't know. And if the main breaker went out, you couldn't find a replacement. And since that panel was put in, our sewer system hooked itself up to the panel in a way that would not be allowed now. So I mean, it's, I guess, grandfathered in. They did it. I don't know why, but they don't have a breaker off the panel. They just have one wire goes in there. I don't know what it does, but that's not correct. So I figure, hell, I might as well get one of those too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this geological report that you spoke of, is this a requirement because of the roof work?
Yeah, God only knows why. you know.
Yeah,
So there was
that's pretty
10 years
bizarre.
ago, there was a geology report which certified the house for 70 years, okay, 75 years, what they require. So then the people at the planning commission decided they wanted another one. The geologist called them up and said, "This is crazy. They just had one 10 years ago." And they said, "Well, we want it, so do it." So they did it. They said, "Well, you know, it's good for at least the 75 years they originally said." So I don't know, you know.
Yeah, 75-year useful life.
Done. If you want things done, okay, and they want a permit, then I get to do what they asked me to do, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, you know,
Yeah, there's the rules.
them's the rules, right? So it costs
Yeah.
$7,000 for a permit to replace my roof, which, you know,
Yeah.
fine.
And,
Mendocino
and
needs-
you'll have to go, unless the county waives it, you'll be going to their coastal commission.
What? I'm sorry.
Unless the county waives it, you'll be going to the coastal commission as well, right?
I think they won't. I think the coastal commission won't want to take it because it's just a roof replacement. And if you look
Yeah.
at the regulations, I'm allowed to replace the roof without any, you know. So
Okay. Well, we'll wish you luck on it.
I think I need a lot of luck. See, part of the reason that I probably, it sounds to me like you expected to have a few more steps in the road before we got me coming here to talk, was because the county has sat on, the county has 6 months to rule on this, and they sat on it for 4 months before they did anything. So I think
there we go.
I think they decided, well, we better do something, you know.
That's what I was looking for. I knew there was a reason that we.
I mean, I
jumped you a
turned this
little bit.
permit in. I turned this permit in last October.
Yeah.
I called them frequently since then. The lady who was up there didn't seem very interested, so you know.
The county planning department is doing a hell of a job. I can't complain about them at all, but I will tell you they've been incredibly backed up because of COVID. They've been extremely short-staffed. They've been through 3 directors in 3 years. So I'm not going to make excuses for them, but I will tell you that there's good reasons for that delay.
I'm not trying to criticize them. That's fine. I'm just telling you what happened. There's no criticism, okay?
I was never told the
okay.
reason that I was just requested to have it on the agenda. I was never told the reason why. Now we know.
Tom, you know, you did the walkthrough.
Yeah.
The owners here, we've discussed it. I think we should just vote on it.
I think so too.
Let's move on.
Anybody else have any questions
Take
before I
care of
make a
this.
motion?
Let me make a motion, okay? I recommend that we approve Coastal Development Permit 2021-0049 Brown to replace an electrical panel and install a room-mounted solar array on a garage roof.
I'll second.
And replace the roof. Place the shingles. Place the shingles.
And to permit the re-roof on the existing single-family residence. I'm sorry, Ken.
I will second that motion.
Okay.
And let's take a vote. Don?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
And I'll be an aye. That's 6-0. Ken, congratulations. You've had the quickest approval in the 3 years I've been on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Say a good word, Dust.
I've
Say
been
a good
here
word,
in
Dust, for the planning commission and
Right.
let them know how quickly we get things done down here in Gualala.
I've lived here in Gualala since about 1970. So I've been here a
There you
long
go.
time. Yeah.
Almost as long as
We love
Robert.
Gualala. We love Gualala.
Wow.
We all love Gualala.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Ken, for being at the meeting and explaining this to us.
Bye.
And
So
we
we
will move
should-
on to what?
We should get a letter off to the county on this real quick too, shouldn't we?
He who makes the motion writes the letter.
I'll write it.
All right. Robert
Okay.
will write the letter. That's how I weasel out of that one. And let's move on to B 2021-0058 for the Yagi or Yagi. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Somebody's getting feedback, I think. Robert again. Coming off your line. Okay.
Okay, this one I guess has been dragging on for a while too. I don't even recall seeing it on the website, Mary, of the county under project referrals. I didn't look that hard, but then again, I don't see it. It must be from last year still.
But you know
yeah,
this
it is.
property.
It's way back. You've got to go
Yeah.
like
Way back,
1 or 2 months
okay.
way back.
Yeah, it is 2021. Okay, it's a very minor property line adjustment. I've been through Anchor Bay subdivision so many times. The only thing I can think of, because I don't recall right now what's going on there, but the property to the west, where the small triangle is coming out and going to the existing residence, I believe that's how it's working. It could be that that's an existing parking space or something for that residence. I don't recall exactly without going up there, but it's such a minor little property line adjustment. What is it, 160 square feet? Anchor Bay parcels are so small to begin with. They're quarter of an acre, third of an acre. They're all served by the water and sewer. So it doesn't make the unimproved parcel any less buildable. The property owner that owns that unimproved parcel, he's lived across the street, has a house already. And then the existing residents on the map for this CDP, I don't know the exact reason why they're wanting to do this property line adjustment, but for years now, for decades now, all property line adjustments come through or should come through GMAC for review. And that's because of, well, we should get to see some of the more major property line adjustments that are being proposed, whether they're in town or whatever. I mean, I'll cite an example, for instance, on the streetscape project. If we were to get further on that at some point, there would have to be some property line adjustments done with where the Chevron station is, for instance, because that's all attached to the highway, everything that goes to the east. The Chevron station, the highway in that section in front of the Chevron station, and the Church Street or the road going between the gas stations up to the east of town, that's all one parcel. There is no separation of parcels there. So that would require a more major type of a property line adjustment. So this one that we're looking at is just a small item, and I see no issue with it.
I agree. Having done some line adjustments in the past, I reviewed one. This is very similar to the one I did. I'm showing on the screen now, Robert, the actual adjustment in the property line. And it's that small red triangle you see here. It's moving from this parcel over to this parcel, if you can see it on the screen. I want to compliment our administrative secretary for getting this right on our agenda. She says that this bottom parcel here will decrease to 24 plus acres, and the other one, this parcel, will increase to 0.33 acres. It's actually staying at 3 acres. The adjustment's that small. The actual application, which I did look up and is available, it was a December referral, I believe.
Okay.
And you will see here, it says parcel will decrease and the other parcel will decrease. So they got it wrong and Mary got it right. So I just want to give her a pat on the back for that. But that's, it's a very minor adjustment. And if somebody wants to make a motion on this, I would vote in the affirmative.
The contact sheet did not contain any information regarding Mr. Yagi or the property owner of the second property at all. There was no contact sheet in that. So I contacted the planner and he sent me the sheet, and only Miss Yagi's information was there. I did send her information, and then Mr. Seal is their agent, I called him regarding contacting the other people, but he couldn't find the information. And Ms. Joggy said she'd be here tonight, or at least try to attend, and no one is attending. So it's been kind of a scramble to try and get them on board and let them know that it's happening, because it's difficult to contact people when you don't have any information on how to do it.
Well, I don't think we really need to have them. It is voluntary. This was filed in October. It was referred in December, and we didn't know about it until now. So I think we should go ahead and vote on this tonight, just to clear the road to get this project done. Robert, you want to make a motion on this since you know the most about this?
Sure, I'll make a motion. I guess I'll be writing a letter too then, huh? Okay.
You can knock them both off in one letter.
Okay, I'll try. I make a motion to approve 2021-0058 JAGI, the property line adjustment between the two subject lots.
And I will second it. Okay, votes. Don,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
and Tom is an aye. Another 6-0 winner going on there. Thank you very much for your help on that, everybody. Mary and Robert especially for jumping in there and getting these long delayed projects a little closer to being done. And now we are moving on to item number 7, council matters. I don't believe we have any old business to carry over. Robert, we have.
Tom?
Yes.
Can I add something, just an update on the Alwyn's CDP? They were the ones that were doing some of the property adjustments, and they had an issue with their septic tank. And Don and I have been on that committee, and we've been in touch with them. And they were thinking that they might come back in April, but it looks like they're going to be out another 4 weeks. So they're hoping to have their CDP up for our review at our May meeting. So I just wanted to give you an update on that CDP.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
And by the way, I'll just mention the Diaz Temple project that we approved a few months ago is now in full swing. They're laying the foundation line on Sedalia. If you want to go out and take a look at that project and see how it measures up to what we saw on paper. The GCAP committee, Robert and I met this month with some of the Coastal Commission staff, and there's a follow-on conversation we're expected to have this month. Suffice to say, we represented the council's positions on this, and the Coastal Commission staff is reviewing the notes. The key person who was we wanted to talk to was on vacation and is going to be getting back to us, I think, in the next couple of weeks. We still haven't had our walkthroughs with a couple of the residents we want to talk to. But my gut feeling on this, as close as I've been to this project, is that we've sort of hit a plateau on this. There's general acceptance, I think, from most of the people out there that the community is settled on one alternative, and hopefully this will move forward. Having the Coastal Commission aware of this and watching it carefully means that I'm a little bit calmer about the idea that this will get done properly. Robert, do you have any other notes you want to add about Streetscape this month?
Not really, other than I was expecting to maybe hear something back from Caltrans and what they were doing with the upper crust pizzeria owner there on that photo session that they were going to have, but we haven't heard back from them.
Now, we should follow up on that this month and see if that's going on. We should also, we have a couple of meetings that we should have with private citizens to walk their properties.
Right.
And we can find out some information there too and help them solve that problem. You know, we have one resident on one side of the street wants it to move east, and one resident on the other side of the street wants it to move west. So I'm not sure it needs to move either way if some adjustments are made to their plan. So we should all get together and see if we can come to a meeting of minds. I think that's the way good civil society should work.
Yeah, maybe
go ahead, Robert.
No, maybe you and I will do that in our next committee meeting. We'll get together and pull together some of the loose strings, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay.
Okay. I have nothing for the Housing and Economic Development Committee tonight, other than what I mentioned earlier about the big meeting last night with Senator McGuire. Is there anybody on the council who would like to speak? Mr. Redding, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, thank you.
Excuse me, are you John Redding, the fellow who's running for supervisor?
I am, yeah, and I'm
I
running.
just wanted to identify that for the council.
And I'm running on economic development. So I wanted to have, just tell you, first of all, I read your version of Move 2030, and I'm familiar with the format because Paul Garza and I have been having a lot of discussions about Mendocino 2030. I wondered if you were aware of another report that I found very useful. It was prepared by the EPA of all people, but it talks about 7 rural communities that lost their primary industries and yet turned themselves around. It's a really interesting story about how each one did it differently, but they all turned it around. And I'd be happy to email it to you if you haven't seen it. It's really good reading.
Yeah, I have not seen it. I'd be happy to take a look at that.
Yeah, it's fascinating reading. One community decided they would have a contest every year, the 10 most impactful economic development projects. And they get 100 applications, and then they narrow it down to 10, and then they get some money to go off and do it. So really an interesting idea. And one thing I noticed in some of your work, Tom, about downtowns, one of the things that they all had in common was a revitalization of their and beautification of their downtown areas. It was absolutely essential. Paul Garza and I've been talking about developing a nonprofit called Mendocino County Economic Development Company. It would be populated with private citizens, wouldn't be a government entity. And this is also modeled after some of these communities where they turn themselves around. They all had an economic development company. So if you're interested, your committee might be interested, Paul and I and another one of my colleagues would really like to explore this further with you. So.
I'd be happy to talk to you about that, John. Maybe we can do that offline.
Yeah, we can do that.
Send you my contact info. The email is simple. It's gmac95445@gmail.com.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I think it's in that. I think it's in the Move 2030 report too. And
okay.
I'm very interested in that. The downtown project that we referred to a minute ago, the house, we call it the GCAP committee. It's also known as our streetscape project. That is our downtown revitalization. It's referred to in the report I wrote 3 years ago. And it came up through the Economic Development Committee. That's why I'm actually on that committee for the streetscape. And that is probably going to be the biggest trigger to economic growth for Gualala in 50 years. And I don't mean that negatively. I think a lot of people around here, understandably, fear change. We live in paradise. Why change it? Well, because everybody runs a store, everybody eats, some people run motels, some people work in them. We build a lot of houses down at Sea Ranch. We're not building many here. We have a housing crisis. That's economic development. just about everything has to do with economic development in Gualala, and everything people complain about here, because there are some things to complain about, has to do with economic development. So
Yeah,
I'm very eager to see the streetscape project completed. It's been delayed for 30 years, and I'd be happy to brief you on what's going on with our streetscape project, and what's delaying it, and maybe you can use some muscle on your end to get things done.
Yeah, boy, that would be fun. People are, where I live, are seemingly content with the status quo because they live in paradise. But I try to tell them that status quo is not sustainable. The hospital on which I'm on the board of directors at the Fort Bragg Hospital, leading indicator, we're down 60 to 100 people because they can't find housing. Sorry for that. So if the people will have to move out of the area for healthcare and other things. Forgive me. So anyway, it's a vital topic, and what I'd like to say to people is, change makes you uncomfortable, but we need change. So we're all going to have to go outside our comfort zones on this one. Thank you for letting me.
Yeah, thank you, John, and good luck to you on the race. Our supervisor is also very supportive of our efforts on streetscape, and we'd love to have both of you agree on that issue, even though it'll make it harder to choose. But
sometimes it's just a matter of a little push. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
It's just a no-brainer here, but it is being delayed, and it's something that we need to move forward to get economic development rolling around, along with our water moratorium. Okay, let's move on to our next item, unless there's anything else on that. Good.
Wait.
Electrical. Melissa.
Point. There are only two members of the GCAP because we were so small, and I couldn't be on it because then it'd be a quorum. That's changed, correct?
I don't know. I defer that to Robert, and Robert could review the committee assignments. I'm going to raise that with Robert a little later in the meeting anyway about committees. So let's wait a bit on that.
Okay.
And I would just say quickly that for anybody who, like me, could not attend Senator McGuire's meeting last night, it is available on his website, on his Senate website. And then John, I found on the streetscape question, Tom's briefing as part of, I think it was the February GMAC meeting, extremely informative. So that's useful background if you're interested in it.
And you have recordings of these meetings on the website?
We do. We have a YouTube channel. I can send you the links to that, John. Thank you for remembering that, Henry. I did a presentation a couple of months ago that was specifically geared towards bringing people an update on what's going on with it. And it included a lot of background and the propositions that are out there now and where we are in the process. But it's been 30 years. It was 1995 that people around here recognized the need for this. And it's 2022 and we haven't turned a shovel of dirt.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you. All right. Let's go on. Item D, under item 7, is the electric vehicle charging station. Don Hess is our lead on that.
Yeah, I don't really have any update to provide to the council at this time. Nothing's really changed since the last meeting, which I believe I made the point that we weren't going to be able to get any type of EV charging station through the latest California Energy Commission grant program due to a number of factors, but you know that was not going to work out. Even I actually did not have high hopes for it from the start because it was a long shot given the criteria and the time frame and everything. But going forward, I think where we possibly can count on some grant monies is through the Department of Transportation's program for EV charging, throughout the United States, $7.5 billion. So hopefully that's going to filter down to California, a good chunk of that. And most likely the state will administer these funds through programs that they develop. And some of those monies are slated to go to rural and underserved communities. Not all of the funds, but a good chunk of them. So hopefully we will be able to get in on some of that. And just to reinforce the point I did make last time is that we do seem to have a local business owner willing to allocate a couple parking spaces for EV charging, public EV charging.
Good. Good progress there. Any
Well,
questions for Don?
I wouldn't say there's a lot of progress yet, but we could potentially see progress hopefully this year later on.
Okay, good. Don, have you had a chance to speak to anybody in government about getting some public money through federal sources through the spending plans that are come out of Washington?
Have I spoken to anybody in the federal government? No.
Have you spoken to anybody? Have you spoken to anybody in our government at all about getting money out of Washington or Gualala?
The person I've been in contact with for this project is Janet Orth at MCOG. And, she's been a lead advocate of EV charging in Mendocino County for a number of years. She was one of the main drivers behind the zero emission report that was updated a couple of years ago that outlined in fair detail whereabouts in the county there was a need for charging stations, and Gualala is mentioned in that report, of course.
I have great respect for Janet, and she's doing a great job on the county level. Personally, I always believe that we on GMAT can go out and speak to any agency, and that's one of the beauties of being on GMAT. And I've found people are very receptive in government when you do that. So maybe Senator McGuire, maybe going a little higher to our Congress people, even U.S. senators. It doesn't hurt to get on the radar and wave our flag and say, we keep hearing about money going to rural districts. Well, we couldn't get more distant. We need this really now for economic development and other purposes, and to help keep our environment clean. So I would encourage you, and is Robert on the committee too?
No, I'm not. I'm not part of that committee. No.
Okay. So
I've talked to Don. I've talked to Don about it a lot,
and all I can say about that, Tom, is that the only two grant programs that we know of that would have brought public money to establish EV charging, that was the Cal EVIP program last summer. We didn't get in on that for a number of reasons. At that point, we didn't really have a candidate. If you don't have a candidate, there's no sense in trying to get money. We have to have a commitment from some organization, property owner, business person. That's step one. And Janet increases me on that. And so that's why, this last time, as I say, Cal EVIP didn't work. We didn't have anybody. So, and in the end, that was a difficult grant program to win as well. So these were the two opportunities that we know of. There weren't any others that we know of. So
Well,
We're trying to get
I get
in on anything that's available, but Senator McGuire can't just cut us a check, and it has to be through a program. That has to be a state program.
Well, let's find out
which
what
is-
other programs there are. Respectfully, the words that we know of, I find to be a real limiting factor. I think we should go out and rattle the cages and find out where that money is and how we get them. And that may lead us to things that we don't know of. And I don't know how high you need to go, but our Congress people, if you want to go to the federal level, if you want to go to the state level, there's people here that will help. If you want to go to the governor's office, they may have somebody who's a liaison who can connect us. But I think it's important that they start hearing the name Gualala when they're deciding where these 50,000 federal recharging stations are going to go. If we can get one of those here, it may not need a business owner. It may go on state land or federal land or some county land.
We've already thought about that. State land. There doesn't seem to be any county land here. The state land that actually was mentioned in the zero emission report put out by MCOG a couple years ago, that's the pullout area.
Is the Caltrans land?
We've already explored that, and that's not a practical option because of
It's on
the
Caltrans's map for the Streetscape project as a proposed site for EV charging.
I know that, but even Janet, I think, mentioned one time when we were talking that what would have to happen is the state would have to cede the land to the county, and then the county would have to take over that land and agree to set up a public EV charging station. Last time I talked to Janet, she indicated from her discussions that the county wasn't interested. So
I thought she indicated it was.
We're trying, Tom, but
you're closer to this than I am.
money's just,
this evolved over the years, right, Don? I mean, we worked through the Transportation Authority, which is MCOG, in the very beginning when they first came out with their EV selection process for public lands throughout Mendocino County, especially on the coast. It ended up that most of that EV money on the initial go down went to Ukiah, from what I remember. Then they selected a couple of spots along the coast, Elk being one of them, right? We were asked to
Fort Bragg.
Yeah, we were asked to designate a spot early on before you guys got on the council, and so the best public land that we could think of in town was the pullout area at the south end of town, and since that time, we've learned that that's just not going to be that easy with all this ceding of property from Caltrans to the county and so on and so forth.
It's complicated.
So
it's very complicated.
It's a process. But as you and I talked about earlier today, that federal money, that federal infrastructure money, did you already mention this in your report, Don? I forgot.
Yeah,
but it has to come down to the state level first, right? And then from the state level, it goes to hopefully MCOG, which will then get us on the priority list once and for all again.
Well, I don't know that it would go to MCOG. It would likely, be some kind of program similar to what they just recently did. In other words, a program that you apply for through the California Energy Commission.
Okay.
They manage it. That's their bailiwick. That's what they do. So
yeah,
MCOG doesn't really do that. MCOG produces reports and stuff, but they don't implement, charging station.
No, but they seek grant monies for us in different locations of the county.
They could help with getting grant monies, which is what they were doing this last time around.
Yeah.
Well, I have great respect for Janet and for the rest of them, and I'd love to see them applying for grants for this. I don't see that happening. I do hear Washington talking about having a whole lot of money to spend this year on 50,000 electric vehicle charging stations. There are other areas of county and state land. There's state surplus land beyond the Caltrans pullout. There's federal land around here that we can apply to use. But the main thing is that if they're going to be building stations, let's find out what that federal process is. And I think you need to go to federal sources to get the best lowdown on what that is. And maybe there's a California state agency that can help us get on the map. But I think just relying on MPOG alone or on one of our local business owners to pop up and say, hey, I want to build a station, that may not be enough. I think that this may take some direct communication with the federal or state officers who are in charge of doling out this money from Washington. So I'd like to, at least get registered on that.
Well, I'm trying to keep up with the Department of Transportation and where they're at on this $7.5 billion, which by law has to be allocated to EV charging stations across the country.
Yeah.
They haven't, developed the program yet. Just, let's see, what's today? 7th? Yesterday, the Department of Transportation met with the CEOs of all the major automobile manufacturers about this very subject. So it's still in the planning phases.
Well,
So
it
they
reminds
wanted
me
to get input from all the manufacturers. That's what they did yesterday.
It reminds me to, I have great appreciation for the city of Willits, which reached out to Volkswagen and said, how about building one here? And they did. I think that was a good call by Willits. And yeah, I think a few months ago, I suggested you reach out to Willits and talk to whoever worked on that and say, how'd you do that?
Willits is on Highway 101 too, so that's an advantage.
Don't make excuses for not having one on the coast. We're a long way from the local charging station. We need one here, and we should do everything we can, talk to everybody we can to make that happen, I think. So that's just my 2 cents. You're the committee, go do your thing. But I wanted to ask about that.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. All right. Anything else on electric vehicles? Melissa, are you with us? Melissa? Hello? Don't fall asleep. Stay with us. We're going to move on. Telecommunications Committee. Yes.
I have a few ideas that I used to do a lot of work for the Energy Commission. I know how the grant process works. But first of all, in Fort Bragg, Tesla is in charge of EV stations. Those are not government funded projects. They put in about a dozen of them in the Boatyard Shopping Center. The Energy Commission goes through a solicitation cycle, and what I'm thinking is if we could get several communities in this area to band together and put in a joint proposal, it would be more likely to be received than just a proposal from, say, Gualala or elsewhere. And that might be something the West Company could facilitate, or this new economic development company that we're talking about. So just some thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's a good thinking, John. Don, maybe we could talk to John about how that works and get some clues on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good point. But again, we have to have a program. There has to be a program in existence before we can think about applying for anything. And currently, right now, there is not a program that I'm aware of at the state level. The most current one was the one that the applications ended at March 11th.
Okay, well, let's go and see what else is out there that we're not aware of. I know Marianne up in the West Business Development Center would be happy to talk about it. John's happy to talk about it. Paul Garza from the board of the West Center would probably be happy to talk about it. And that's just from an economic development. I think the city of Willits has a good story to tell if you give them a call to speak to whoever in the city manager's office was associated with that. What other manufacturers could we approach? Who in the government can we talk to? I think we knock on more doors and get more people involved in this, and pretty soon, hey, you got a movement. but we really need this on the South Coast, particularly in Gualala, which is kind of the lead community down here. John, I don't know how familiar you are with our community, but we should.
No, I am
definitely
familiar with it.
Okay, great.
I like to visit there actually.
All right, great. All right, probably enough on EVs tonight. Anybody else have anything else on that? Let's move on. Item number 7, Telecommunications Committee. Our brief meeting last month got 28 views, which is a low for as far as I remember. And yes, Henry was right. It was the February meeting where I gave the rundown of the Streetscape Committee, Streetscape project, and that had 82 views 2 months ago. I'll send you the link to that, John. Or John Redding, you can go to YouTube and search for Gualala MAC, and you'll see our channel, and you can see that video for yourself. There's a whole bunch of stuff about Streetscape on that, along with all our other meetings.
I can navigate my way there. Thanks.
Cool. Telecommunications, I also want to mention the Board of Supervisors is starting to look at going back to live meetings. I think they've agreed on a hybrid format where they continue to have a feed like this, as well as a live venue where people can come in and testify. And they're working out some rules on that now. There's an article about that in the ICO today. Encourage you to read it and think about what we'll be doing. If we get the call to go back to live meetings, will we continue the Zoom meetings as well? I actually think the Zoom meetings are a lot more effective than the live meetings. Before the pandemic, the rule was that you had to have at least one person live if you were going to do telecommunications with other people. But now they may change those rules. Let's keep an eye on that going forward. Don, do you have anything else on telecommunications? Don, yes?
Don?
No, I
Looks frozen.
I have nothing further. Frozen? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you've got low bandwidth, Don. We're not seeing a picture of you and we can barely hear you.
You may not know it, but having a background photo cuts down on your bandwidth.
Okay.
It sucks up a lot of bandwidth to have that pretty picture behind you.
Just how your video does. Yeah. Don?
I do hear you.
You're coming in pretty clear now, it seems like.
Can you hear me?
No.
Yeah, Don, we cannot hear you. You're breaking up. Don?
Maybe it's where Don's location, where he lives, maybe.
Hey, Don, why don't you turn off your video? See if that helps.
This
And
is exactly
comments.
what happened to Robert. We had the black screen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
We can hear
Okay.
you, yeah, Don.
All right, that's fine. Maybe I'll leave it at this. I guess we can blame fridge.
Now we lost you again.
You're going in and out, Don.
Yeah, it's a further reach problem. It's not my computer.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on. Don, if you have anything on telecommunications, you can report it later in the meeting if we're better able to hear you. This will probably be a passing problem. And the next committee is the Water Ad Hoc Committee. Robert, maybe you want to take the lead on that tonight?
Sure, I'll say what I can. As you guys know, I was not able to attend last month's meeting, so I haven't really gotten together with Don per se, other than just a quick conversation today. We're planning on inviting the North Gualala Water Company President David Bauer to our next meeting, if at all possible, May. And we will get those questions that we prepared off to him prior to the March meeting, so that he can be prepared to review those with us. I was looking at the United States Geological Survey website just to get an idea where the river's at, and we're currently pretty low. 12.9 cubic feet per second in April is pretty darn low. Last year it was very similar. Over the last, it always shows the median flows of our river the last 9, 10, 11, 12 years, and it's usually around 40 cubic feet per second. So we should be prepared for another real dry season. And as you'll see from our local water company website, that we are on mandatory conservation methods or restraints. Mandatory conservation has been the norm now for quite a few months. So other than that, we'll try to get more answers from our local water company at this coming May meeting. If Don is on, anything else, Don, that you can think of? So he's off. He can't
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can now, Don.
Yeah, okay.
Did you
No,
did you hear what I had to say?
Yes, I did. I heard everything.
Okay.
I've always been able to hear you, and I can see all you. But apparently, further reach bandwidth dropped, and so that caused some issues.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
So
I think what you said about inviting David Bauer for next month, I think, that's what we'd like to do, and to send him a set of reasonable questions for him to address.
So that would be it from the water committee for this month.
Okay, great.
I have one comment. I've just lately read that California is going to have the driest year it's had in 1,200 years.
1,200. Wow.
1,200 years.
Yeah, I wasn't hearing that.
I went out and divested myself of quite a few of my container plants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think it'd be great to have David come to the meeting next month and maybe talk about the need for conservation to preserve what we have in the aquifer, since we have no reservoir, and to update us on the reservoir situation. But this is a very serious problem facing our community. We don't want to get to the point where we have to truck water out from the coast. It's extremely expensive, and a lot of our residents do because they're on well water and went dry last year. So, I think what we can do to preserve and conserve right now is really paramount.
Yeah, imagine the town of Gualala having to truck water in, or our local water company having to truck water in for its customers. That could have some monetary ramifications to the customer, and that's not something I think the water company wants, nor the customer base.
Yeah, no, the county spent a lot of money on this last year, and I don't think there's enough money to cover the whole coast. The town of Mendocino, there were some hotel owners complaining they were paying $50 every time a guest took a shower, because water is extremely expensive. It's hundreds of dollars per truckload.
Yeah,
it's not something that we're going to be able to do on a large scale.
It's very expensive for 5,000 gallons. And if you only have a 2,500 gallon tank, the other 2,500 gallons goes begging, but you have to buy a 5,000 gallon tank. And it's beaucoup expensive. Beaucoup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Let's do that next month. Anything else on water tonight?
No, Don. No, Tom.
Okay. Permit review assignments. Now, Olson is back. That's the 29 pine trees application we had several months ago, and we made a strong recommendation on that. That's back for assignment tonight. Is that right, Mary?
Yes, it's for assignment. They've added about 12 or 14, it's 225 pages this month, as opposed to about 215 from the last one that we had. And so they've added about 10 pages to the CDP. It's different. And I don't know exactly where it's different. He could indicate the pages that were different for you in his email that I forwarded to you. I don't recall who the two people were who walked the property. I think it was heard in December. Is that correct, or January?
Robert and I were the two who walked it.
Very well.
Right.
I made the motion on it, wrote the letter on it.
Okay.
I suppose that means that it should be assigned to me and Robert again, maybe?
Well, you
Robert,
guys
you
know
good with that?
more about what's going on about it than anyone else, so perhaps that might be the logical choice.
Well, the
I
fact
also
that
put
it's,
in a call to Juliana on this, so I'm expecting a call back from her.
mhm. I mean, they seem to be,
are you
Tom,
good to go?
yeah, I'll be the lead on it. They seem to be taking care of most of the issues that we recommended. I haven't been able to review all the 212 pages that Mary refers to, or the difference between the amount of pages from last time to this time, but just glancing over it, there were a couple of things that caught my eye. And I recall we stated something to the effect, Tom, that there should be some kind of a restoration plan and a revegetation plan. Did you see anything regarding that?
I did. I went through the report, and Amy Wynn
Okay.
has an extremely thorough revegetation plan in the report that I
Okay.
found acceptable, that would generate 10 new tree starts a year. When we voted this for conditional approval back in June 21. Provided evidence they are abiding by conditions of CDP, which I'm sure the county building department is on. And that was for removal of the unpermitted kitchen, removal of 3 unpermitted bedrooms, the solar panels, and the greenhouse. In the update, they pushed back on the solar panels, saying because of the date of them, they didn't need a permit for those. So I'll ask the county, if Juliana calls me back, I'll find out what's going on with that. We also asked for a work with a qualified biologist approved by the county for a more ambitious and comprehensive restoration plan. Let me check on that. And we further advise the county to investigate the deaths of the 29 trees that are attributed to natural and other causes to determine if healthy trees could have survived. From what I could tell in the application, it looks like they've conceded that they cut down the trees. So I want to verify that as well. I just kind of glanced at the 221 pages. I did not read the detail. So yeah, let's follow up on that. We can report back to the council next month on that. And then the other one is, what's the other one, Mary? I'm sorry, you gave it in the beginning.
It's a new one.
What's that one,
It's
Mary?
a new one, you guys.
It's a new one. It's called Donnelly. It's located on Pirates Drive, APN 144-290-03. And I think it's a very simple project. Let me grab it really fast here.
If you all know where the St. Ours is. It's across the street, across the highway from St. Ours in that subdivision there.
It's
Pirates
just
Drive.
want to re-roof an existing single family.
Right.
It's just re-roofing
Right.
the same.
Rather straightforward, just re-roofing an existing single-family residence.
Right.
Okay. We have a couple of volunteers to go out and do Donnelly. This is CDP 2022-0004.
Pretty much a drive-by and to look at the paperwork is what it is, you guys.
The CDP is only about 33 pages long. It's not huge.
I'll be happy to jump on that.
Kevin, thank you.
And
All right, Kevin.
does it need more than one?
Usually
Yeah.
two people do attend and talk amongst themselves regarding their opinions and then come back to the council and give their concerns or not concerns.
This sounds like a good one for me to get my feet wet on that process. If there are no
Great,
objections.
Henry, great.
Now, Robert,
Okay.
when we were having some telecommunications problems earlier, Kevin brought up the Bower Park situation. I don't know if you've been following that, but there's been reports the park is suffered from a lack of maintenance and was forced to close. But I think it was Don said earlier that he'd been at the park and it was fine. It was open, not fine. I shouldn't use that word. And Kevin and Henry also volunteered to look into the situation and report back next month.
Oh, great. Yeah.
This came up in public comments, and I suggested that we wait till you were on the call to see if you'd like to agree to have them make a report to the council, maybe under old business next month. What they find out.
Yeah, I know, Kevin, that was one of the reasons why Kevin came on board too, is he wanted to look into that, right, Kevin?
Yeah, that's correct.
So I think it's great if Kevin and Henry take that on, if that's what I just heard.
Yeah.
That's what you just heard. Okay,
Okay.
great. You guys.
I mean, does anybody know what the tennis court conditions are like? I mean, I used to spend a lot of time up there and they were piss poor tennis courts at that time.
Yeah, I don't think you could play tennis on that.
You can't anymore. Okay.
I don't think so. I mean,
And
well, first of all,
roots have
there's
grown
not
up.
really any net to speak of, but
Okay.
Roots have grown up all along the walkway, so it's kind of dangerous for me to walk around the park. It's about a quarter of a mile around the pond and back to where you're parking. And I used to walk it all the time. So I'm just walking the perimeter of the parking lot like once or twice. I'm going every night after dinner, so. But the parking lot's in really great condition, so I don't trip on anything there. But going around the pond, it has holes, potholes in it, and roots have pulled up the paving. I haven't seen the ballpark. The picnic area seems very nice and well kept, but anyone who picnics there makes sure that the garbage and trash is gone and kind of cleans up, so it stays that way.
yeah. And somebody at some point recently, meaning in the last 6 months, maybe somebody did some maintenance on the young children's playground right by the parking lot, because there had been railing that the bolt was sheared off, and it was very loose. And I had taken a look to see if that was something I could fix, and I definitely couldn't. And I had talked to one other parent who had a similar instinct and realized that it was beyond them to do anything. But then at some point it was just fixed. So I have no idea who did that maintenance, but somebody did something.
I've wondered since I saw the article in the ICO, whether perhaps parents and or volunteers could use their time to fix the park and save the county the money on that, except for materials. I don't know if the county would allow that or insurance would cover it, but I know baseball parents would be maybe more than willing to help with that, and maybe a service club like Lions or the Rotarians or the Odd Fellows or whomever could also volunteer some of their time to fix it. Then we would have a park and the community would be involved and it wouldn't cost the county that much money. I don't know. It's just an idea.
I think one of the things, and I'm going to reach out to Henry offline. Oh, before I say that, welcome on board, Henry. I missed the last meeting as well, so I wanted to give a public welcome to GMAC.
Thank you.
One of the things I think that I'm going to discuss with Henry, and something, Mary, that'll touch bases with what you're suggesting, is we'll probably reach out to the stakeholders, our nonprofit groups, some of our business community, and the youth sports groups.
Yes.
And see what their needs are. And I know Ted Williams put together a report. He did a walkthrough of the park, and he found it in really a deplorable condition, and he was really shamed by it. And that's something that he's real interested in as well, but he as a supervisor can't initiate it. So he's looking at GMAC to kind of take the lead on it and get the public involved and really rally the troops and say, hey, county, we need to fix this gym of Gualala.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
used by everyone from
Yes.
toddlers and kids that even crawling clear on up to 89 years or 79 years old here, out walking every night. So truly, it really is a gem, as you say, kind of a true gem to the community. And I'm talking
the
as a community member.
And the potential for it is just, you know, the
Exactly.
ceiling is extremely high
Yes.
for what that park can be.
Well, I'm glad to hear you guys are going to be looking into this. Kevin, I'm glad you spoke to Ted about this. I know there was a park needs assessment that began in 2019. It was supposed to, I think it's available, and I don't know what it is about our park, but we do have a county general services administration that administers the parks. I'd like to know what they're spending on park maintenance, if anything, this year, and how much of that is going to Bower, which is our local park. And I'd also encourage you to reach out to RCRC. They have the neighboring property. They're trying to create an alternate park. And it seems to me that these two properties right next to each other, you know, kids don't know the barriers. You're riding your bike on one place, you're riding your bike on the other place. It seems like there should be a cooperative effort in the community there too. And maybe you want to reach out to Lynn or somebody to find out what's going on with them at this point.
Yes, they could work together, making a recreational area that is twice or three times as large as both of them, you know, and that would be a wonderful thing to do.
And if there's any county money available, maybe we can find a way to share that capability, or if there's any community funds available, to share it that way. I'm not sure how that works, but I'll look forward to hearing you guys decide.
Okay, we'll be happy to report back to you.
Great. All right. That, I believe, concludes assignments. However, I did want to mention, Robert, that earlier in the meeting, Melissa was asking if it's the appropriate, now that we have more members, for her to join the Streetscape Committee. Those are appointments made by the chairman. I think this park thing is interesting that's going on. And I just want to suggest to Robert that in the month ahead, he may want to consider committee assignments and review who's on what and make any changes that he thinks is appropriate. Does that sound fair, Robert?
Well, yeah, if Melissa has an interest in this, I think we should consider that.
Okay, great.
Yes, I do. And I want
Okay, Melissa.
to speak to an earlier. I'm a slow thinker at night.
Dark over there too.
You said that there something about meeting in person again.
Yes.
The COVID pandemic is not over. There are still people dying.
Yeah, we're not planning any immediate changes, Melissa. I mentioned that the County Board of Supervisors is considering changes. It hasn't decided what to do yet, but is reviewing their options, and I'll be interested in seeing what they do. Travis, you've been quiet for a while, and this is sort of a disaster recovery issue, isn't it? How to come back to normalcy after the pandemic? You still there?
We're not after yet.
Well, he's for planning.
Yeah, so
Travis, is this your courtyard?
what's that?
Is this an issue you're involved with?
I mean, I'm aware of like kind of what the county's doing with the Board of Supervisors. Like they are planning on coming back, as you already said, with the hybrid format for the next meeting on the 19th. But I think that they're still very much kind of working out the kinks of how this is going to work going forward. And I know that there's hesitancy amongst staff and the board about, coming back to only in person. I don't think there's a lot of support for that. But this is also an issue that I attend MAC meetings all around the county, and like all the MACs are trying to figure out what they want to do going forward, and nobody really knows exactly what route they're going to take on this. It seems like it's very much still being figured out.
Yeah, I think here's your answer, Melissa. It's still being figured out. And it's something that Don and I and the telecommunications committee would have to look at and see what our capabilities are. If we have an in-person meeting and a Zoom meeting going at the same time, how does that work physically? And, we'll just have to take it day by day. But for now, we're staying on Zoom. And no, the pandemic's not over. I don't think anybody said that. I haven't heard any announcement that it is. and
People are
I know
acting
they're
like it's
pushing another
over.
third.
They are, I know.
People
And
will act like they want to act.
yeah, with possibilities of new variants, we got to keep our guard up. Yep.
Yeah.
The next variant could be like the 1918. It could be so lethal. We need to make sure Congress is meeting in person, and look how many people are coming down with COVID. I am not going to meet in person.
No, I think meeting like this on the Zoom, if I can get online one of these days again, I'd like to, but I've been kind of out of it the last month or two. But I think this Zoom meeting, what we've been doing the last 2-3 years is pretty good.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Tom and others and all of you, I was a little reminiscent here about something else that came up this recently. And I was approached by the district manager of the local Gualala Community Services District, which is also known as our sewer district. I was affiliated with them as their, I was the chairman of the sewer district for many years during the 90s when we got a sewage treatment plant here in Gualala. What they're working on, or what they have been working on for many, many years now, is expansion. And they'd like to expand up into zones 3 and zones 4, which are east of the Highway 1 corridor and up onto the ridge. So there is a document that I was sent just recently by the GCSD, by the district chairman, district manager, and they would like to know if we have any issues with their going forward with the local planning council, advisory council, have any issues with their going forward with potential expansion up into zones 3 and zones 4. I'd have to prepare something, or maybe I could ask one of the council members to help me on this assignment. What I want to do is I want to get a handle on what they're exactly looking to do, but before they can expand into further zones of the established boundaries of the sewer district, they need to correct any deficiencies of the existing sewer system. So they're asking us as the planning council if we have any issues with them improving the current system. And I don't want to just say yes on my own, or no, we don't have any issues with them improving the current deficiencies of the sewer district collection line system within our zones 1 and zones 2. So that's why I wanted to run it by you all, just so you know that I'm going to start working on this, and I may ask the help of one of the other council members on this, so we can give them a unified response.
I think it'd be appropriate for GCSD to send a representative to our council and tell us what they're planning to do. And I'd be particularly interested to hear if there's any demands for water for that, or if they're planning to home site, how it overlaps with North Gualala Water District's facilities and their expenses. I'd like to know where the money's coming from for that project. If they're proposing lines, the idea that they're not only going to provide service to existing homes, but are going to provide service to new homes, I'd be interested in knowing that. There's quite a few questions I have. So I think before you even prepare a response, it would be more appropriate for them to come and talk to the council.
Great. Okay, Tom, I'll see if I can get him, invite him to our next council meeting, okay?
Yeah, it's something, if they can make a little presentation, tell them they could have, I think our bylaws allow for up to 15 or 20 minutes to tell us what they have in mind and tell them to come up with some maps. Last time I think they came, they didn't have any illustrations of what they were talking about. I'd like to see that.
Okay. Good.
And I'd also like to know, I think we should publicize this a little bit and get some feedback from people up on the ridge and how they feel about this. Will this cost them money? Are they going to be assessed?
Well, it's not to that point yet, you guys. It's expansion is still far down the road. They have to get all that money part together and maybe form an assessment district or something. But before they can even get to that point, they have to correct deficiencies in the current system, the current collection line system in our downtown zones. So they want to see if we as the council, planning council, so to say, have any issues with them correcting deficiencies in the currently served zones. I think it was that basic, okay? But I still feel the need to run it by you all and tell you what I was approached about here recently, okay?
Yeah, and thank you for that, Robert. I did hear, to use my favorite word, scuttlebutt, that the expansion was sort of on hold because they had found some significant deficiencies in the current
Okay.
system. I don't know
Right.
if that's true or not. I have no source on that. I want to emphasize that. But I'd be interested in hearing what's on their mind. So maybe it's time for one of them to come to our meeting and give us a little update.
Okay, I will follow up on that.
Great. All right. I think that's it. We've got a little bit beyond the idea of permit review assignments tonight, but I think it's all
Yeah.
good. Let's go on to number 9, Administrative Secretary Mobert's report.
Yes, I worked 19.63 hours in March. Materials were $4.83 for a total of $348.41.
Mary, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How long is 0.03 of an hour?
0.03 of an hour is, well, 0.1 is 6 minutes. So 0.03 would be 3 minutes, I guess. No, 0.05 would be 3 minutes. 0.03 would be 2 minutes.
0.63 minutes. I like that.
So
Very
0.63 minutes would be 42 minutes.
That's it.
Because 6 is 40 and 3 would be 2. So the so 19.42 minutes.
That's some exactness there. All right.
Good to know that. Okay.
1/10 of an hour is 6 minutes.
And you'll submit your report to Robert and he'll send you out your check.
Yes, I have submitted it already on the 31st of the month.
Okay, I'll get that sent off, Mary.
Thank you.
You
I
bet.
have no report tonight. I feel a little funny chairing the meeting with Robert on the phone. I'm sorry we had problems tonight, Robert, but I hope you're back in the chair next month. And thank you for sticking with us on the phone at least.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to miss another meeting. I haven't missed hardly any over all these years, so I don't want to miss another one. As you all know, I had some family issues this past month, so I think I don't know. Under my report, if you're done with yours, Tom,
Yeah,
I just
go
wanted to say I'm slowly getting back up to speed. My mother's doing much better, and I hope to be full back here, like Tom said, next month. Okay, some computer glitches, but I'll get through that too.
I'm sure you will. And it's good news about your mom. We were all very concerned last month. So and
Thanks, you
you're going to work with Henry too. Henry, you and Robert ought to get together sometime.
Yeah.
Meet face to face.
I haven't met you
I
yet,
think,
Henry.
I think you know my father-in-law well, as I understand it.
I do, and your mother-in-law.
Yes, right.
We'll have to meet you one of these days, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to maybe I'll swing by if you're around the
Okay.
office.
Sounds good, or I'll swing by. One of the two, huh? Okay.
Great.
I know you're a father though, so I don't want to bother you with your fatherly duties.
True. Yeah, he's
That
a delightful handful.
Okay, we'll work it out. I'm looking forward to meeting you, Henry.
Yeah. And me
All
too.
right. Robert, if you have nothing else.
No, thanks, Tom, for chairing.
I think we're ready for a motion for adjournment, if anybody would like to make one.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
We like to leave that to Melissa. Okay.
Second.
Here in a second.
Melissa just spoke. She says, let's get out of here.
I said,
Seconded.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Nobody
made the
seconded.
motion.
Second.
Oh, okay. Henry seconded. Let's have a vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
and Tom Murphy votes aye. We have another unanimous 6-0 vote at GMAC. Thank you, everybody. It looks like we started a little late. We're finishing at 8:05, so let's call it 2 hours. That's twice as long as I thought this meeting would be, but when you're having fun, why stop early? Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you on May. what is
Third,
it? May 5th.
May
Oh,
the
Cinco de Mayo?
5th, May the 5th. Wi-Fi.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco
You
de
may bring
Mayo.
margaritas and Mexican food. To
Exactly.
celebrate.
Okay.
And Travis, thank you for all your hard work. We
You're welcome.
We really appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me be part of these meetings. It's been really good.
Well, you're
Travis,
always welcome.
Yeah, you are always welcome. All the members of the public are welcome. But Travis, you're an interesting guy. You get your fingers into a lot of pies.
Yes.
Go safely and be well, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good night,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, good night.
We'll talk to you
Sweet
soon. Stay busy.
dreams.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.